The National Institute of Mental Health estimates that about 3 out of 4 people, 74%, say they suffer from speech anxiety. Chances are, if you're watching this video lecture, you are one of the 74%. Hopefully, by focusing on where speech anxiety can occur in the speech-making process, as well as how you can manage your speech anxiety before, during, and after a speech, you will be able to approach a speaking situation with a lot more confidence and less anxiety. Speech anxiety can occur more than just right before you deliver a speech. And for some of us, just knowing that you will have to give a speech contributes to pre-preparation anxiety. Many students, for example, experience queasiness just signing up for a public speaking class. Luckily, this tends to be a fairly low intensity. Sometimes when you are preparing the speech, including rehearsal, you may experience preparation anxiety. Now, these last two are the most common. Pre-performance anxiety can start as early as the night before you are scheduled to speak, intensifying as the time draws nearer. And when you are actually delivering the speech and dealing with any questions, you experience performance anxiety. Surprisingly, some speakers report feeling more nervous once they finish the speech, or what we'll call post-performance anxiety. Your anxiety levels fluctuate throughout the speech. If you know what is likely to occur, you won't be caught by surprise and you might be able to adjust. Of course, every person reacts to anxiety differently. Let me share with you what I've seen my students go through. Assume that this line is your normal anxiety level. Pre-performance anxiety can be pretty severe for some people. It's your body's attempt to get you out of doing something that is fearful to you. You may wake up suspecting that you have the flu, queasy stomach, parched throat, intestinal difficulties, and perspiration. Then the time comes. You realize that you are next. In a split second, it feels like your anxiety level spikes. Your heart pounds louder, your hands start to tremble, and it feels like those butterflies are fighting to climb out of your throat. Your anxiety level is very high as you work your way through the introduction. You make it through your preview statement, and about a third of the way through your first point, your nerves may start to calm down a bit. Still at a higher than normal anxiety level, but you feel like you can make it through the next few minutes without making a bigger fool of yourself. You might even find that you're enjoying yourself a little. You progress through the second point and are well on to the third when you realize that you are almost done, and then all of a sudden, your anxiety level spikes again. What if the audience doesn't applaud? And there may be questions. If so, your nerves continue operating at high alert as you consider the best way to answer them. If you experience preparation anxiety, consider these suggestions. First, identify the cause of your anxiety. If you are afraid that you will look stupid, determine what behaviors you fear will make you look stupid, and then devise a plan to overcome them. If you are afraid you will forget something, you can probably come up with a solution to address that concern as well. Visualize success, but at the same time, plan for the worst. Focus on getting your ideas across, not on your nervousness. In the final analysis, the purpose of your presentation is to share your message with your listeners. You don't need to be witty, have flowery language, or an overly dramatic delivery. Ask yourself what would help you get your points across most effectively to this particular audience. Spend time on your introduction and conclusion, both in preparation and in rehearsal. If you feel good about capturing your audience's attention with a creative introduction and leaving them with a memorable conclusion, you should feel better about doing the speech overall. Thus, your anxiety levels should decrease. Plus, recall that your anxiety levels are at their peak at these 2 points in the speech. You'll want to feel as practiced as possible. Perhaps you can work some appropriate presentation aids into the speech. That way, if you forget, you can always glance at the aid and get yourself back on track. Time your speech, early and often. Many times you're not sure if your speech is too short or too long, and that can cause anxiety. If you time it, you'll be able to make adjustments. And this next one is obvious. Practice. This means you have to finish the preparation stage early enough to allow time for rehearsal. And you should practice a lot. Novice speakers should practice their speech at least 6 times in its final form before delivering it to their audience. When you do practice, speak extemporaneously, which means speaking off of an outline rather than reading a manuscript or trying to memorize your speech word for word. If you do memorize word for word, you'll likely forget part of it and not be able to get back on track. Knowing your content and sticking to an outline really is less nerve-wracking. Practice in front of a mirror, looking at your eyes and observing your gestures and facial expressions. And you really do need to practice in front of others. It's a very different experience talking to yourself than talking in front of others. Your speaking notes are important. They help you stay on track. Be willing to redo them. You may start with a full outline, then rewrite onto several note cards, then rewrite again. Each rewrite helps you remember more. Add instructions to yourself. Smile, breathe, and slow down. And for me, handwriting my notes helps place the concepts in memory much better than if I merely print them out. Spend more time practicing gestures, eye contact, your use of aids, your introduction and conclusion, and any sources or evidence that you plan to cite. It's not just a matter of getting through the speech, but illustrating the point. Plus, if you have nervous energy, you can channel it into your gestures. And if possible, practice where you will be speaking. Know how the room is arranged, where you will stand, put your notes, if you need to bring an easel or technology, as well as perhaps what is happening before you speak and after you speak. During pre-performance anxiety, banish the negative thoughts and tell yourself you'll do well. Come up with a mantra, what you can repeat to yourself, such as, "You are well prepared, show them what you know. Stay relaxed and go slow. A little nervous energy will help me. The audience will be attentive and interested in what I am saying." Or, "This will be a fun experience." Don't tell others that you are nervous. That doesn't help, and frankly, it goes without saying anyway. Now, the night before your speech, eat a healthy meal. It'll provide the necessary fuel for your body. Look over your speech before you retire for the night. Don't edit it, just read it. And try to get a good night's sleep. The day of your speech, you will wake up with some nervous energy, so exercise. Work a walk into your schedule and talk to yourself on that walk. Remember that good breathing is necessary to get the right amount of oxygen to your brain, so pay attention to your posture and breathing habits. Your breathing should start from your abdomen, not your chest or your nose. And warm up your voice by singing and talking. Limit your caffeine intake and have a light breakfast. If you don't normally drink caffeinated beverages, now is not the time to start. And if caffeine is a habit for you, limit how much you drink. Don't make the mistake of indulging in intoxicating beverages and the like, hoping that they will relax you. Speaking under the influence is not recommended. When you realize that you are the next speaker and you get that spike of adrenaline, mentally and physically relax before leaving your seat. Use your positive self-talk to lower your pulse and help you feel calmer. Stretch, shrug your shoulders. And then, right before you walk to the front of the room, take 3 deep breaths. Tighten your muscles while holding each breath and relax your muscles while exhaling each breath. If you get an adrenaline rush, sigh before you leave your seat. Physicians and psychologists have discovered that sighing is your body's way of releasing tension. Let's turn next to what you can do when you are actually delivering your speech, when you are experiencing performance anxiety. Pause before beginning your speech. Walk to the front of the room, organize your materials, and plant your feet firmly. Then force yourself to pause for 3 seconds. You look more confident to your audience, and it should help you calm down. If you take that time to do a quick reread of your intro, you may even actually reduce your fear of failure. Now, it's normal to be nervous, so don't fixate on it. Channel your nervous energy by energizing your gestures and body movement. It's okay to walk around a bit, but try to keep it natural and not pace. You have a choice of who to look at, so find a friendly face or two in the audience. Hopefully, you will have already identified who you can look at. Avoiding eye contact usually increases anxiety because your imagination tends to overestimate negative reactions. Your audience is very likely rooting for you. They want you to do well. Don't let distractions and individual listeners upset you. An inattentive or rude listener has an attitude problem, and it's his or hers, not yours. Also remember that you may not be able to please everyone anyway, so get over it. Focus on the message and getting it across to the audience, not your nerves. A speech is not a performance. It's about being yourself and sharing what you know with others. Remember, you are the expert. You probably know more about your topic than anyone else in the room. Talk with us, not at us. Remember that everyone makes mistakes, so be prepared for them. Reframe it as something to work through, not something to avoid. If you forget, smile, and then bluff. If you have visual aids, you can usually refer to the aid while you get yourself back on track. Also remember that most people won't notice your mistakes unless you draw attention to them. Even if they do, if you cover smoothly, they'll be impressed. Never apologize, and don't tell us that you're nervous, or we'll look for it. Remember that most nervousness is not noticeable to your audience. Also, never tell us that you're unprepared or act embarrassed. Act proud and confident. Which leads us to act enthusiastic, confident, and sincere, like you want to be here. Even if it's not real, the audience prefers an act to the alternative. These last two are worth repeating. It's normal to be nervous. Reframe it as excitement and use it to your advantage. And the audience is unlikely to notice your nervousness, at least not to the degree that you are feeling it. So relax. Once you've concluded your speech and the audience has applauded, it's time to relax and congratulate yourself. You have just faced your fear and come out on top. Don't make too big of a deal out of it. You want to treat it as a difficult job well done, not as a monumental feat. Otherwise, you may face your next speaking assignment with a lot more trepidation than it deserves. There's also no reason to admit that you were nervous. That goes without saying and may seem like you are fishing for compliments, that you want people to contradict you and tell you that they couldn't tell that you were nervous. If you do receive compliments, accept them graciously. Very few people offer unsolicited praise if they don't truly mean it. If you shrug them off or say something negative about your performance, you've just told them that they were wrong to compliment you. In fact, that you thought they were foolish to think that you did a good job. Now for the real work. Review the presentation to determine what you did well. Try to come up with a list of at least 10 things you did well. Not only will it help you feel better about your presentation, but it will give you some ideas about how to approach future presentations. And then look for areas that could use improvement. No, I didn't say look for what you did wrong, but where you could improve. Then develop a plan for improvement. How will you, for example, improve your eye contact between now and the next time you have to do an oral presentation? Be specific. The improvement won't happen just because you said you need to do it. In the unlikely event that you didn't do well, find time to do the speech again, even if it's just to yourself. You want to feel some success so that when you have to present again, you will have a good memory of your last experience. Regardless, effective management of speech anxiety doesn't happen overnight or after just one speech. You should plan to speak again and often. Processing time. How does your nervousness progress through a speech? What can you do to minimize your preparation anxiety, pre-performance anxiety, and performance anxiety? And what positive self-talk mantra can you use to dispel your speech anxiety? You should now be much more prepared to combat your apprehension and channel that nervousness to help you rather than hinder you.